let's try to understand how many people are we are talking about. So there was a recent study done by AIMS Delhi, which stated that there are 8.8 million people. That 8.8 million itself is the size of countries in a lot of European and other continents. So it's a huge number that we're talking about. So there are 8.8 million people living with dementia in India currently. Now, how can we prevent dementia? Okay, there is 40% chances that dementia can be prevented by addressing these lifestyles. If you see, all these lifestyles is nothing but the basic thing any doctor is going to tell you: exercise regularly, adopt healthy diet, take time to de-stress yourself, get quality sleep. How do we manage these behavior issues in without medicines? Medicines are given by the doctor, but this is very specifically non-pharma interventions. So these are certain therapies that are done to calm them down, to manage their challenging behavior, to slow down the progression of the disease also. This is called cognitive stimulation, where you make the brain to stimulate in the way that is basically not used. So it can be meaningful activities. It can be a lot of therapies like this. This all comes under cognitive stimulation, reminiscence therapy, the old things that they remember, the happy things. Always remember, reminiscence therapy is happy things to remember where they are able to talk themselves. Then pet therapy, music therapy, arts and crafts, speech therapy, physiotherapy, physical exercises. But you always have to remember, if you are giving an intervention of such a kind, it should be that the person with dementia should be interested to do it. If they are not interested in pets, they're afraid of it, please do not introduce anything like that. If they're not interested in arts and craft or music, please do not. Like there, you need to. So the approach is called person-centered care or a holistic approach, where you first understand what is the liking and what is the personality of this person, and based on that only these therapies should be introduced to them. Say a girl or a gentleman, he is like very mechanical kind of a person, very manly, who is not interested in any of these therapies. We can't introduce anything like that. He is definitely going to get more irritated and agitated because of it. So we need to start thinking that, okay, what are the things he is going to like? Oh, he's in sports, so let's give something related to sports. So based on that, we have to introduce activities for them. Yeah, so we've been talking about cognitive stimulation, but trust me, even though it is a non-pharma intervention, it really helps till the last stage of the disease. It helps to slow down the progression of dementia. It gives a lot of positive emotions when they do all these activities. It can be board games, it can be physical exercise, anything that they are able to do. Always remember that a dementia person has lost the abilities, cognitive abilities. So what they were doing 10 years back or all their life, they may not be able to do now. So we have to cut down the activity to their level. For example, see the Mugu in the picture. So it was done at our daycare. So we do the outline, we do the color highlights, and just ask the patient to fill in. So you have to cut down the activities so that they're more confident to do it. So observe, that's the best thing. Like observe the patient, observe and understand, okay, what are their current abilities, what are their likings. It will help them to feel that freedom, independence. It will improve their confidence. It will help to manage the challenging behavior and, of course, the quality of life. Then let's try to understand how many people are we are talking about. So there was a recent study done by AIMS Delhi, which stated that there are 8.8 million people. That 8.8 million itself is the size of countries in a lot of European and other continents. So it's a huge number that we're talking about. So there are 8.8 million people living with dementia in India currently. This number is expected to double in coming times. Only 10% of this 8.8 million ever receives any diagnosis, treatment, or care. There are a lot of reasons why they don't receive. One thing, I think it starts with stigma. It starts with not understanding what is dementia, because a lot of people don't know that the difference between normal aging and dementia. It is only taken. I get so many people, over the years, I have met so many people who say that, oh, now I understand that, my parent or my grandparent had dementia. Is it that we never knew, we never addressed it? Because even the medical professionals may not know. So it is a disease which is there, but then it has very less awareness. There are very few things that are happening in the field of dementia, but the numbers are increasing. What is happening with us is mainly that families predominantly provides long-term care for people with dementia. Say somebody has Alzheimer's, there is a high possibility that the person diagnosed with Alzheimer's can live for 5 to 10 years. That means for 5 to 10 years, family has to provide that care. That is emotionally, physically, and financially. That drains out the family unit or the caregiver. So it is not only the dementia person who is affected. If we have to actually think, like if I had to say this 8.8 million people living with dementia and 8.8 million families affected, because it's the whole family unit which always gets affected because they're providing the care, because they have to provide everything. Now, if we have to see in our country, there was a report that was done in 2010 where they said that the average cost out of pocket expenditure for an average Indian family is 45,000 rupees, because they had to get an attender. Nowadays, attender itself are costing like 30 to 35,000 per month. Then there are medical things, then there are therapies, everything. So all taken together, it is average like 45,000 for a person living with dementia. That was 10 years back, more than 10 years back. Now, easily it has doubled. So imagine the middle class still can afford something like maybe 80,000 to 1 lakh a month for the dementia person. What about the people who can't afford? So it affects the quality of care, quality of life. So that is one challenge. The other challenge is, even though our numbers are so high, 8.8 million we are talking about, there are very less facilities, say the residential cares or the daycares or the activity centers. There are hardly less than 100 residential cares throughout the country. There are less than 50 daycares throughout the country. So what is happening is the private organizations, like they are definitely coming up because there's a huge need, but then the equation is really not so good, right? So in developed countries itself, like US calls it like $1 trillion disease, because dementia is very expensive, because constantly they need supervision. There is another person who has to supervise, do things for the person with dementia. So it can be very draining for families, because for us, it is the family who's putting that effort, money, and everything for the person with dementia. Now, how can we prevent dementia? Okay, there is 40% chances that dementia can be prevented by addressing these lifestyles. If you see, all these lifestyles is nothing but the basic thing any doctor is going to tell you. Exercise regularly, adopt healthy diet, take time to de-stress yourself, get quality sleep. See, one thing is dementia, when we are saying that, okay, a person is getting diagnosed at 60-year-old or above, it is not that the dementia has started at 60. Dementia starts 10-20 years before that in brain. The shrinkage of brain starts much before the diagnosis or any symptoms that we see. So people who are young or anyone, even people who are in their 60s, should have a quality life, should do regular exercise, should make sure that they, adopt healthy lifestyle, de-stress, get good sleep. So all of us need to be very careful about these things. If you see, like, this is a Lancet study who has said that, okay, you can increase the education. When we say increase education to reduce dementia, that means learn new skills, learn new language, learn new things that your brain has not done so far. And that will help to stimulate your brain. So these are for normal people, how to prevent dementia. So pick up new activities, physical activities, sports, no matter how old you are, no matter you're 60 or 70 or 40 or 30, everybody is at the risk. So if we are talking about the 8.8 million people number right now, in 5 years, I know it's going to be a huge number that is going to come. So we really need to start considering that what we are doing to ourselves. So increase our, brain exercises, all these social contact, social integration is something very important. Nowadays, we are so much dependent on the gadgets. We don't know who our neighbors are. We don't talk to other people. So social integration is something that is very important for our brain. Decrease these things that are listed over here so that you have a healthy brain. Hypertension, obesity, excessive smoking, excessive alcohol. So you need to control all these. Hearing loss can cause dementia. A lot of vision issues can cause, depression can cause, diabetes can cause. Then head injury. It can be like, see, we all have, most of us will have hypertension, diabetes, but it should be under control. Make sure that you go to your doctor regularly. Make sure that you are doing checking your medication and everything. Head injury can cause dementia. So always wear a helmet, no matter what you are riding. Make sure that you brain is really a very complex and a delicate thing. You have to protect it. So anyone who is riding bikes, cycles, whatever, make sure you wear helmets. Air pollution. If you can try to reduce or if you can try to avoid the air pollution, that will be very helpful. Now, who are we? We are, so I represent ARASI, that is the NGO established in 2008, and it is absolutely dedicated for dementia. So I'll just take you through quickly that what are the services that we provide. Say if you identify someone who is having mild cognitive impairment or memory issues. So if you know that what all we are doing, it will help you for, so that you can refer them to us. Or we are an NGO, so we are not like, not a commercial space. So our motto, our agenda and the mission is to help the person with dementia and their families. So let's see what all do we do. We have a memory clinic where we do the cognitive assessment, paper pen test, and after diagnosis counseling and a lot of support at the time of diagnosis to understand what is happening. Then we do monthly caregivers meeting. We have realized that caregivers are a vulnerable group who need constant support. So we have caregivers meeting. We also have WhatsApp group. So we try to provide as much as support to the family caregiver with respect to training them, to counsel them, to support in whatever manner. So every month we have these meetings at our center. Dementia daycare, where we do a lot of cognitive stimulation therapies, a lot of these activities. And as it's a daycare, so the dementia person can stay from morning to evening. We also have a virtual cognitive stimulation program that we try to do over the Zoom calls. Home visits. So for a person living with dementia, we do home visits to understand their environment, if they need an environment modification, functional rehab. Then dementia care training. That is like we do it for paid and unpaid caregivers. Paid caregivers are the attenders or people who are providing, like nurses, providing care, right? Unpaid carers are basically the family people who are not paid for this care. Unfortunately, that's the term that is used for family caregivers. We are associated with ADI, which is Alzheimer's Disease International, which has the headquarters in London. And we run the program Dementia Care Skills Training affiliated by ADI. And we have a lot of student internship programs at our center. So we are also part of a lot of literature and research. So we run this helpline. It is also called ZBCHA Dementia Hyderabad. So right now we have more than 200 families on this group. It is like a constant support that we try to provide to the family caregivers. We do not discuss medicines on it, but anything other than that, which can be care, or somebody wants to vent out, somebody wants to share their journey with dementia, or any issues that they are facing, or any support that they need, or they want to understand about services. So this is the WhatsApp number that we have got, and the helpline number. So we are also part of, we have launched something called dementia friendly communities, where we do a lot of public awareness, where we try to do public screening tests to understand, like, so that there can be better early identification of dementia. We provide information and training, local community support. So we try to conduct dementia screening awareness, like the one we are doing right now with Vishwa Talks, in communities, gated communities, or in offices, or anywhere where we get a platform, because the numbers are high and we really need people to know what is dementia. You see people walking around, wandering off on the road, and there is our normal tendency. So I'll give you an example that why public awareness is so important. Like, generally there are wandering cases where patients just walk out, they are hungry, they will pick up, say, a fruit from the fruit wala, or they might just go to a shop, and our general tendency, even if it's an elderly person, we would say, it's a thief, and we will judge them. And unfortunately, there has been cases where people were beaten because they just picked up fruit and they just had food, and they're not talking, they're like, I don't have money, they're saying things, they don't know where they are coming from. So there's a high possibility that person has cognitive impairment, has dementia. So once, if the public understands, if they are sensitized that yes, there are so many people roaming about who are probably lost, we'll be able to help them in a better way. All right. And that's one reason we are trying to do these friendly communities campaigns, where, so that more and more people and general public understand about it. And then we also, we try to do the advocacy with the government and network to make things better in our city. So you can also be part of us. You can also, we would request you to be, part of our organization and contribute in whichever way you think you can. You can be a volunteer with us. You can, help us with donations. We just acquired for the CSR. So if you know where we can do networks and partnerships for this CSR, please help us. You can, we are a very small NGO. Yes, we've been there since 2008. We're trying our best to provide whatever we can. And but we definitely need your help with it.